After a week of messing with photo settings, I'm finally out here putting it to the test. I'm out here down in San Antonio, Texas, doing a time lapse of one of the missions here. As you can see, I got an umbrella for my camera. Always pack an umbrella because the sun, you don't want it overheating your camera. So yeah, I just got a cheap $3 umbrella and some little C-clamps and hooked it up to my tripod arm. It seems to be good to go. Probably bring a little rope or something to tie it off to the arm just in case the wind picks up and doesn't just yank the thing off. And I exposed it to the raw settings that I've set in the previous video. And the cool thing about time lapse, it gives you time to catch up on some reading. When you're gonna be sitting someplace for a couple hours, just remember to bring a book along or something to do, because you're gonna be sitting and waiting and trying to keep an eye on your camera. And when I get back to my workspace, I'll show you my method on color grading it and how I add motion blur to the time lapse, so you get that little natural movement that you would get if you were using the SQ mode, and save yourself some memory on your memory card. Well, hopefully this comes back pretty decent, and we'll head back and see what the results are. After I converted the raw files from Adobe DNG converter, I bring it in a Davinci Resolve, and I just do a Davinci Resolve color manage SDR Rec 709. On my first color base transform, I put a Sony S-Cine gamut. That's the setting I was using on my S-Log3. And then instead of putting S-Log3 on the input gamma, since there's a conversion from the raw to a 709 image already, I just hit 709A, because you can see, as you can see, with regular Rec 709, my shadows are a little bit more crushed. So I like this to bring those up, because I can always bring those back down in the grade and have more information there, which I've also done in my raw file. As you can see, I barely touched any of the settings, really. Added a little saturation and brought the shadows up. I would have had to bring them a lot more up if I was in Rec 709. Then I get a light gloss over, not much with the primaries, just bringing my shadows back down a little bit, because I still have this green hue. Then I use my printer keys, and as you can see, there's like a green hue right there. So I just, a couple keys, it still looks a little red. I'll hit Control and the number key, and it takes it down a quarter. That looks about decent there. Then I'll add a little contrast with my curves, just to bring it out more. Now I know Davinci has this color splice right here, but I really don't like it. It kind of seems a little aggressive. So I still do prefer the mono node. I still do prefer the mono node. I know it costs money to get, but to me it was well worth it. I typically use film nitrate, because I've had it for a while now, just because I like the grain better than the grain that Davinci Resolve offers you. And it's because it's kind of more mellow and not as chunky. Same thing with the enhancer. I've looked at it and it just seems kind of chunky, and most of my projects are either streaming over YouTube or on websites. Once they're streaming, they just look even more chunkier than they already are, and that's why I prefer the nitrates grain over the other programs, just because it just looks a little bit smoother. And then I just outcome Rec 709, and I'll see I exit with the luminance. I use the luminance mapping on my color space transform, because if you can see here on my saturation heat map here, I come back here, I go to Davinci, I get more of a choppy grain. That means I'm probably going to get a little bit more banding in my sky than I would if I was using luminance. And then I just kind of glaze over it. This is just like a teal orange look that I just to give it that little extra. And that's pretty much it. It's done for that look. I'm only up like around 16-17%. So I just give it just a hint, just enough to make it look more closer to what it did when I was actually there. Now, after all that's said and done, as you can see, I got my time lapse going. You see, people look a little choppy. That's why a lot of people prefer SQ, but when you're doing like a couple hours, that's a ridiculous amount on your card. Davinci has motion blur, which the basic setting, I usually switch it to better, and just by doing that, I get smoother streaks. Now, if I wanted more streaking there, I could just bring it up. I don't know, I'll pick it up all the way to 100, and it's got a smoother flow to it. The more motion blur I add to it, but it's just like ghostly like, which I think looks really cool. And another thing I usually have when I do raw, I notice that you will get some chromatic aberration a lot more than you would in video with your lens. But this one, when I zoomed in, I didn't have too much chromatic aberration, so I didn't feel it necessary to add that on there. But sometimes you'll notice a lot in the trees or something where the highlights are meeting the shadows. This feature in Davinci Resolve seems to do a really good job about toning those down a bit. And yeah, I mean, that's it. Yeah, I'll use nitrate, and if I want a little bit more luma to give it a little bit extra, maybe dull out image a little bit, if I wanted to bring a little bit more darkness to it, I use it as just a subtle little tweaker kind of program. I really like the way, because its wheels affect the image differently than the wheels in Davinci. It's a good tool to have. I enjoy it. But yeah, that's all I got for this. And there you go. It's a quick little grade. This is just a pre-saved tree I have in my stills folder. That's it. You got yourself a time lapse. Thanks for watching, and hope to see you next time.